90% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name.
Hey, this is Red Pole Q here, once again, back once again. With the Renegade Master. Do you know this?
I don't know this.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, maybe this is like, do you know this?
It sounds familiar.
Back once again for the Renegade Master. D4 damager, power to the people.
Okay, well anyway, it's maybe old school. Maybe we'll put a link to Anyway, I'm here as usual with
Golden Fox.
and
McConnell.
I like how
I was
you
going to say
have my name.
McConnell. McConnell. Can I be McConnell this time?
Yeah,
For
sure.
once,
Yeah, we
please.
can switch.
You always get to be McConnell.
It's just not fair.
It's not
Yeah.
fair.
Okay, so we got a lot of good stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed the last one. I know it was a little bit longer than usual. Actually, if you thought that it was too long, send us an email or something, or tweet at me at RedPoleQ, or email me or post somewhere that you thought it was too long, so that because we don't know, we don't know what you like. We definitely don't want it to be too long.
Yeah, but we're also happy to do 5-hour marathons if that's what you want. So tell us.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
If we did that, though, we'll have to have Crazy Horse on.
Yeah.
Have him bring a beer.
Yeah.
Oh no! I said that'd be awesome. I'd like to do 6 hours, like on a Saturday, and then we have 6
6-hour
episodes.
marathon?
We're
Oh,
like cutting the hours.
Oh, okay.
But you're like, I think the quality would go down.
Yeah.
Fair.
All right, so so if you liked that one, or you thought it was too long, or you don't like threesomes, and actually we have more threesome discussion today. So anyway, but let us know. We love feedback, so send it our way. Even if you want to be rude to us, that's cool too.
Yeah.
I totally don't mind verbal abuse. When you talk to a lot of
You're
women
used to
like
it.
I have. It's just
That's
It's an acquired taste.
yeah, it's an acquired taste. All right, so a couple of weeks ago it was, or maybe it was almost a month ago now. We were at dinner. Me and McConnell were at dinner. Did we tell you about this?
Yeah.
Okay, so we were at dinner with these guys that we know because they do online business, and so it was like a dinner for like online business guys. And of course, they know that I teach pickup and dating and sex and all this stuff. And so one of the guys, he's a pretty normal guy. Would you say?
Yeah.
He's like he's a Chinese Canadian, I guess,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Chinese Canadian, pretty normal type of guy that would run a internet business.
Nothing unusual.
Whatever your image is about that is probably pretty close to the truth. And he was like, hey, so has anyone of you guys ever had a threesome before? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he was like, oh, really? I mean, I think he was expecting there to be a no, right?
Yeah,
it kind of seemed like this is, I think for a lot of people, threesomes are pretty far outside of their reality, right?
Yeah.
Actually, one time I had a guy, and he asked me about it. We were doing a call, and he was, thinking about signing up for, boot camp, and he asked me about, whether that was possible. I was like, yeah, you could do that. And he said that was the only, after we did the boot camp, he was like, after, when we had that phone call, that was the only time when you said something, I thought you were totally bullshitting me, but now I realize that you weren't at all. But anyway.
Yeah.
So when I was telling him, so he was like, oh, well, what was it like? And, so I started explaining about all the different positions and how, things progressed and, what happened is there were two girls that I already know. I mentioned in the last discussion about how, my experiences, two girls that I already know, and I put them together. And the way it worked is one of them was really down for, playing with other girls, and the other one was sort of just down for having lots of sexual pleasure. So I basically was supposed to meet one of them, and I told the other one, well, I'm going to be in town, but I'm going to be, with this girl, but if you want to come and hang out with us, then you can. And so, so she sort of came, and I met her, and I walked her up to the hotel, and, and then she came and sat on the bed, and it was very, very awkward because the other girl was just sort of like, it's sort of when you have a girl and it's like time for sex, then you have to start initiating more touching and escalating the kino, as you know, as the in the pickup terminology. But you know, you have to start touching her. You know, you have to be close to her. And so when you're doing a threesome, you kind of both need to be doing that at the same time to sort of the third girl, whoever the girl is who's sort of the least engaged. And so the girl who was really down for it wasn't doing that. She was sort of a little bit far away. And what ultimately happened is that she went to the bathroom. So when she went to the bathroom, I just basically really started escalating hard on the other girl. And so by the time when the girl came back out of the bathroom, you know, clothes were already coming off. And so then she felt more comfortable participating at that point. So I was telling this story, and I was talking about the different positions, and the guy who I don't know, what are we going to call him? I guess we can call him Mark. I mean, there's a million Marks, so you know, we'll just call him Mark. It's not like, you know, you're going to be able to find, hey, there's an Asian guy named Mark. I found him on Facebook.
I'm looking for Mark, the Chinese Canadian.
I found him on Facebook.
There's probably only one though.
Yeah.
To be fair.
So, you know, and Mark was like he was really shocked by, you know, what did he say exactly?
I can't remember.
I think he said, he just said, oh, he was like, whoa,
Yeah.
that was graphic.
Yeah.
He was like, that was graphic. And, you know, it was really strange for me because I was like, well, if you asked me what the threesome is like, what did you expect?
Yeah.
Right?
What happened in that horror movie?
Yeah, right? I mean, it's like, I just don't, you know... But I think the reason why I'm bringing this up, because maybe you might be thinking, why the fuck is he bringing this up, is that I think that a lot of problems that people have with improving their life or moving forward or making something a reality for them is that they aren't willing to really discuss it, like really in detail, right? So people tend to... for example, guys you'll say, how did your date go? And he's like, oh yeah, it was all right. You're like, well, what do you mean it was all right? He's like, oh, you know, we went out, you know, we had some drinks, and you know, and then you know, she went home. And it's like, well, what does that mean? You know?
And then we hooked up.
Just a little bit though.
Yeah, we hooked up a little bit. And I think that, you know, one of the key things about getting better with girls is that you have to really break it down a lot more and look at all the individual pieces so that you can figure out exactly what happened, what went wrong, what you could have done differently. Yeah. And you have to be comfortable being graphic about about the circumstances. Do you have any?
No, yeah, I totally agree with that. And that's the thing, too, is we've talked in the past, and I've told you, like, yeah, I had this date, and I mean, that's why it's so important to type these things up.
Yeah,
you're really serious about it.
Yeah.
But to just think, I'm like, oh, nothing could have changed. I did everything that was right, and that's just how it went down. We're just two people. And then I tell you certain things, and you bring up a small aspect that actually had big indicators on it, and maybe I gave her a sign and she left earlier. Yeah, it's really important.
Did you find that to be like really difficult to, or were you always like that, or do you find it very difficult to do that?
Very difficult.
So
because I kind of like think I'm naturally cool. So why would I have to change anything?
You are naturally cool.
I am naturally cool, but then if I take that aspect where it's like, I'll also apply this. How would I say it?
You know, I guess maybe, you know, I don't know. A lot of times on the interwebs, they would say things like a drill down.
I'm not going to say that actually. If I open myself up to like advice, and then all of a sudden everything changes for me.
So what did you have to do to be able to like, or you know, you said it was kind of difficult for you to move past that point of sort of being more like, oh yeah, you know, this is what happened. It's all cool. Yeah. You know, what did you have to do, or what realizations made it so that you could start changing that?
Because I had this one date, and with this one girl. This is just after I took the boot camp, and she was like probably one of the hottest girls I'd been out with before, and I just was so excited. And then she left. She just left, and so I typed to the.
She was at your house?
No. She was at a coffee shop in Seoul.
Oh, okay.
A hookah place.
Okay.
I forget the name.
Rainbow?
No, the other one. The
other one?
Yeah, there's a cool one like on a second floor.
Oh, Slow. Cafe Slow.
Yeah, I love that place.
Yeah. Great sangria.
Yeah, it is. So we went there, but I said to her, I go, well, I guess you should get home soon. I don't know why I said that. It just came out of my mouth. But I typed up the whole thing. I was like, oh, I'll just do this. And I got tons of feedback, and it was all really good feedback. And one of the things that was really powerful, and this has stayed with me since, was I said that I asked her, do you want to smoke hookah? Because I really want to smoke hookah. And she said, no, I don't like that. And I said, okay, then we won't order hookah. And you wrote, if you want hookah, you have it. Well, why are you asking her? You do it, right? So I went out with another girl like 2 weeks later, and I ordered hookah because I wanted it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then she just started smoking it too because I had it.
Nice.
And then we had sex like 20 minutes later. So I was like, wow, there was a difference between my 2 dates. When I started applying these subtle...
Right, and you wouldn't have been able to do that unless you
If I didn't ask,
broken
I
it
wouldn't have
down and
noticed.
Gotten very graphic.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you? Do you have anything to say?
Yeah,
about that?
totally agreed. I think that being analytical about these things is really good because when you're improving in anything, it's really important to look at why you're not succeeding rather than why you are succeeding when you do succeed. Because a lot of people have this habit of just doing the same thing that gives them success in whatever that success might be, even if it's very small. They just have a tendency to keep doing that over and over again, and they're not working on the things that they're not succeeding in. Right. So it's really good to focus on some aspects that you never think about or things that you just don't even think are important because you never know how important they actually are until you really look into them.
Yeah, this is right. A very common, if you read books about, sort of mistakes that people make in terms of their thinking, one of the most important ones is that the less you know about a topic, the less able you are to evaluate how good you are in that topic. So if this is the classic example of in American Idol, right? In American Idol, you have these people get up and sing, and they are terrible. They're absolutely horrendous.
Right.
And they don't know they're bad, and the reason they don't know they're bad is because they don't know enough about singing to know that they're bad. They can't actually make an accurate assessment. And so this is, pretty much in every field of expertise, they talk about this, how when you don't know a field well, it's much easier for you to think that you're good at it because you don't have the necessary mental tools, frameworks, understandings to be able to really evaluate it. And so when you're starting out, and even when you're not starting out, but especially when you're starting out, you don't know what you don't know. And so you think, oh yeah, it was great. And it's like, oh no, actually, there were lots of areas where you could have done better, or if you'd done these small things differently, then it would have gone for you the way you wanted it to. So I think that's really one of the key things about being analytical and how it's so easy to screw that up.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So move on.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. Ooh. All right. So I got a question in from a reader on the site. So I'll read the question out. This is from a guy who doesn't live in Asia currently, but is thinking about coming out here. So here we go. It's from a guy's name is Jackie, and we have at the bottom of this podcast, in the recording page, that you can put in a question down there, and we'll get to it. You can also go to Asia Dating Experts and click on the Ask Us Anything link. I think it's Ask Us Anything. Is that what it is?
Yeah, ask Red Bull Q maybe
or something. Anyway, there's something in the navigation bar that says Ask something, and you can go there. Okay, but anyway, here's a question from Jackie. Hey, Red Bull Q, that's me. Been following you for a while, but I finally mustered the courage to ask you a question. Okay, so for as long as I could remember, I've been into East Asian culture, whether it's media, girls, food, or whatever. I've always been drawn to it. I'm even thinking about moving there and maybe even getting married there as well. My favorite places are Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and mainland China in that exact order. But I'm kind of worried. I'm a black guy, a bit on the hefty side, and I'm also terrible with women. What did I expect if I do end up going there, and what kind of men do East Asian women go for anyway? Do I stand a chance? So maybe, who wants to start? You want to start? Do you want to look at the question?
Yeah, can I see the question?
Yeah, you can. It's this one right there.
Okay, let's see.
So maybe you want to start talking about... this is actually very interesting because you do fashion, and he mentions about him being on the hefty side.
That's what I just thought about right now.
Yeah. Okay, so Jackie, what Jackie's saying is that he says, do I stand a chance? Yeah. And I think that a lot of guys, when they think of coming to a foreign culture, there's this sort of idea that, oh, maybe I'll have a chance when I go there. Maybe I'll be naturally, predisposed to having some sort of success, whether it's with women or business or whatever. And so, one of the things I'd like to point out is that everybody has a chance. If you go anywhere or you try anything, you have a chance, but you have to, organize your life in such a way that you're putting yourself in situations where you're more likely to be successful. Mm-hmm. So one way would be to, take care of your fashion, or to make sure you look, you look stylish in a way that is appealing to the girls in the culture where you're trying to date. So, for example, if you're an American guy who moves to Korea, what you'll quickly notice is that Korean guys have really, really good style. They're very naturally stylish, and a lot of the guys, I think a lot of Korean guys go shopping together, and they they know about they know about fashion through a lot of Korean media, like K-drama, K-pop. All of these things are fashion is very embedded in Korean society. So they have this kind of natural fashion sense that Americans don't really have. So it's very important to work on your style so that you can actually stand out in the culture where you move to. And a few things for just a few simple tips for guys who are bigger, who are trying to get their style together. The first thing, first of all, the best thing that you can do for your style is to lose weight or to get into shape. That's just the best thing you can do, because then you can just buy clothes that you just look better, and you'll be able to buy slimmer fit clothes, and your overall image will be a lot better.
Right. I mean, largely because clothes are designed for people that are right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be about that. Like if you're a really muscular guy, that's going to cause you problems as well. Vision has this problem.
Yeah. And I've had a lot of clients who they it's hard for them to buy clothes from normal stores just because they have bigger muscles. They're not out of shape. They're just really muscular. So. And also, the term hefty can mean a lot of different things. It can mean you're very muscular. It can mean you're fat. It can mean all these different kind of things. So,
especially in America, where women write, "I'm curvy."
Yeah,
and what it means is I've got a lot of curves that aren't naturally part of the human physique.
Yeah, there's a lot of people fitting into that curvy category that don't belong there.
Right.
So if you are bigger, whether it's muscle or you have a big stomach or whatever, the best thing you can do in terms of fashion is to wear clothes that fit you right now. So a lot of guys a lot of my clients have this thing where they're like, oh, I'm planning on, bulking at the gym, or cutting down, or, I'm bigger, but I want to lose weight, or, I want to put on weight. And they're always like, oh, well, I want to be able to shop for clothes when I get to some ideal dream situation where I'm the perfect body. And what I always say is that, you need to buy the clothes that fit you right now. And a lot of guys don't buy clothes that fit them. So no matter what your body type is, just buy clothes that fit, and that will be a really good step forward in terms of matching the style of people in East Asia who dress a lot better. So I guess those are my thoughts on fashion generally. I don't know, in terms of standing a chance. I mean, just follow a lot of we have a lot of content on how to be successful. So you can just follow what we tell you.
But I would say that also in Asia, I'm sure you agree with this, is that, girls, we don't know exactly what you mean when you say you're hefty, but if you're not a fairly slim guy in Asia, then that's not good. And I say it's not good because, that's not what they're accustomed to. And so, slimming down, which if you move to Asia, you probably will do naturally.
Yeah.
Just because of the diet and everything. But it's really very helpful. And that includes even if you're really muscular. They're just not into... For them, big guys are scary. And so if you are a big guy, then, there are a lot of girls who maybe would date you, but it's just because it's so far out of what's normal for them that it makes them feel uncomfortable. Let's see. Oh yeah, the other thing that he. Did you want to jump in?
No.
The other thing is that I thought was an interesting part of this question is he said I'm a bit on the hefty side, and I'm also terrible with women. So that is something that you should definitely fix. I mean, it's great that you can recognize that. Right. I mean, I think that if you don't know that you're terrible with women, then you definitely can't get better, just as we were talking about a moment ago. But, that is something that, there are lots of resources. We have a lot of resources about how you can fix that. Yeah. And, just put in the time. Right.
Yeah. And just remember, you're not terrible with women. You're just terrible with women right now.
And the other thing that I wanted to say is that it is true that when you come to Asia, you might have something to say about this as well. that it may be that you come to Asia, and for you, Asia is really easy. It's possible, right? Do you know some guys like that?
Yeah, well, the only thing that I'm thinking is that when I was in Daegu in Korea, which is a kind of a small city, and I would go out sometimes, and I'd be dressed really well. I was like super slim. This is like when I was younger, really good looking, lots of hair. It was fucking awesome. And then and there'd be these dudes that were bigger, not dressed very well, with these babes, and I was like, what the fuck? But these guys would go out a lot. They were really friendly. They got within the community, and so in Asia, like the expat community is usually small, or at least there's little pockets, different communities. And if you go out all the time and you're friendly and you're working on yourself, and you're like learning stuff, you can get a girl if that's your goal.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're looking for a girl to get married to or that sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not really that. I mean, a lot of these girls they're looking for someone to marry them. So, it's a really, in some ways, I think it's very different from back home, where where girls, there's a wider array of criteria that girls use for choosing guys here. They could choose guys because the guy's really cool, because he's good looking, because he's tall, because any of these things. But she could also just choose him because she thinks he's a really nice guy, and who will marry her and take her to America. Which isn't a bad thing, but it's that's the reality. Or just because you are serious about having a relationship and starting a family. I mean, a lot of Asian girls are really, really down for that. So if that's what you're presenting, then it could work out pretty well for you too. All right, great. Let's move on to our next question. All right, so we have a question here on one-itis, and before we go through the question, let me explain what one-itis is, because if you aren't in the pickup world, or if you haven't been reading the Red Pill subreddit recently, then you won't know what that is. The Red Pill subreddit is it's sort of like this it's this Reddit where there's it's pretty much guys who feel like they have reached some enlightenment level understanding of what's going on in the universe and among women and feminism, and they feel that they've been able to unplug themselves from the matrix, and that they're floating above everyone else, and and basically they have a lot of good information about dating, but they also have a lot of guys with their heads up their asses. So you can go and read it. You can go and read it, and but keep in mind there's a lot of negativity in there, which is why I'm not a big fan of it. But there is some valuable stuff buried in there. And so one-itis is when you are really just so focused in on one girl that you just don't think about the possibility of any other women in your life, even if they, were to come into your room and lay down on your bed saying, all I want is for you to have sex with me, is to make sweet love. And, you would just be like, no. I'm in love with Winnie, right? Winnie from Wonder Years. I don't know if you're old enough to know the Wonder Years, but in that show, basically, it's just a series of like 7 seasons of one-itis. Where, every time it's like he's like imagining her tossing her hair, and he's like, oh, right. So that's really what one-itis is about, and I think one-itis is. One-itis is bad. It's bad. It'll and the reason it's bad is for one reason, as I already said, it cuts out other options, right? Cuts out because you're not looking at what else is out there for you, and you're not open to those possibilities. So that's one reason it's bad. But I think another reason, I have an article where I talk about one-itis, and in that article, I equate one-itis to the biblical story of Samson and Delilah, where he basically falls for this girl, and he wants to do everything that she wants to do. And I don't know if you know the story. I don't know if you haven't been reading the Bible recently. Maybe you're a little bit behind on your biblical reading. So let me catch you up. By the way, I'm not a religious man, which you may have known.
But he's
no
thoroughly well read.
As far as I know, I when I realized there was nothing about threesomes in the Bible, I decided maybe it wasn't the book for me. I think this is hard for Golden Fox to hear. This is really hard for him.
I went to Bible college for a year.
He's like, oh my god.
I was going to be a youth
He's
pastor.
blaspheming.
He's like, but there are threesomes in the Bible.
I was going to make a joke, but I can't do it.
He's going through his mental Rolodex looking for the best threesome story.
He's actually gradually moving further and further away from me right now. He's concerned that God is about to rain fire and brimstone down upon me.
A part of me is.
I want to stay clear. But anyway, in that biblical story, Samson falls in love with this girl. Samson has like these amazing powers of strength that have been given to him by God, and God has told him that if he cuts his hair, he loses that ability. He loses that strength, and so of course he falls in love with this girl, and she's like, "Hey, I want to cut your hair." And in the beginning, he's like, "No, baby, no." Right? This is always how it starts out in the beginning. It's like, "No, I'm cool, bitch." and then, but eventually later on, she's like, "Let me cut your hair, and he's like, "Okay, right." He like trusts her. She doesn't want to do. She would never do anything to hurt me. He cuts his hair, and then he's like nothing. I don't even. I read the story like a couple of maybe years ago. I reread it to catch up on it, so I don't remember the details. But in the end, I think like something happens where like maybe the Israelites are attacked or something.
He got his eyes gouged out as well by his enemies.
Oh right, that's right.
He had no strength.
Right, he had no strength. They gouged out his eyes. And
he's like in their temple,
and
like at the last moment,
let the biblical scholar speak.
God gives him a little bit more strength at the last
begs
moment,
God,
and
right?
he like knocks down the pillars and like kills everyone, like all his enemies as well.
Right.
So that's what happens if you have one-itis. You will get your fucking eyes gouged out. You kill your enemies into suicide.
But so
not all bad, I guess.
So I think that's a pretty good metaphor for one-itis. Okay, so let's go to the question. Let's go to now that we've set the stage for what one-itis is. I understand that avoiding one-itis is one of the most important principles promoted, and I could deal with never seeing this girl. So this is he's seen this girl, and he's talked earlier about trying to get her and stuff. I could deal with never seeing this girl again, and I've certainly gone ahead and opened up threads with multiple other girls. But for curiosity's sake, I'm wondering if anyone here has had a girl go from seemingly resistant, or at least lukewarm about hanging out, to flipping the tables where she's the one practically begging to hang out with you. It seems like for the vast majority of the girls I've taken out, I'm the one making things happen. How do I get more reciprocation? I understand the guy's supposed to lead in the beginning, but how do you lead without being needy? Mm-hmm. All right, so you were very interested in hearing McConnell's take first, and then McConnell was like, well, maybe you should go first. So what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Rock, paper, scissors.
No, that is the Asian way. For those of you who haven't been in Asia, rock, paper, scissors is a very common way.
It's legally binding,
it's
actually.
Kai Bo in Korea. It's...
What in Japan?
what is it called in Japan?
I know Sai, so, good. Junkin.
It's called Junkin.
Yeah.
It's called Junkin. It's called Junkin in Japan, and this is something that if it's like, hey, where do we want to go for drinks? They roll out rock, paper, scissors to decide.
now this is also used in Korea. Once I saw this on the subway. There was a group of Korean guys in their business suits, and they were riding the subway, and two of them were sitting, and one of them was standing. And they were playing, and then every time the guy who was standing, he lost. He kept losing every time, and then after the third time, they were all laughing because he kept losing. And then they were like, okay, well, one more, and they played one more, and then he lost, and then his friends patted him on the balls. For losing the third time.
So if you lose at rock, paper,
there.
scissors in Asia, then
in Korea.
In Korea, then dudes pat your balls.
Yeah.
That's lose on
Can you teach
purpose.
me how to lose on purpose? One thing about one-itis, I just want to add, is that it's not the one that's bad. It's not bad being with one person.
No, absolutely not. That's great.
And none of us think that as well.
No, I think it's fine to be with one person. It's just that you don't want your entire life to revolve around that one person.
Yeah.
So that, as in the example with Samson, where you give up the things that are most important to you and make you who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I think in the beginning, before you can find that one person, you need to avoid one-itis at all costs to get to that place of abundance where there's lots of different women. And so where he was asking, like, have you ever met a girl?
Oh yeah, who wasn't very keen at the beginning.
Yeah.
Have I ever met a girl who was keen in the beginning? Is really the question. But anyways, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so earlier when I just moved to Taipei and we were going out, there was one girl that I opened up, and she was really hot, and I'd never talked to a girl, I think, at that level, and tried to message her, and she'd reply, but wouldn't want to meet me. So instead of just thinking about her and messaging her all the time and giving up, I just said, fuck it, I'll just keep going out and meeting other girls. Met lots of other girls, forgot about her.
I love how in this story it makes it seem like you considered not doing that.
Trying to bring myself to chilled level. Forget it, I'll put on a movie. No, so anyway, I wanted to go out regardless. I love it. I met lots of other girls, but I met other girls that also were pretty high quality. Had lots of fun with them, and then also had great friendships as well. So one-itis, I find a lot of times those guys don't even give time to their friendships, and that's just unhealthy as well.
No, I can't go out with you guys. I think Cindy's gonna call
me
today. That wasn't a deliberate dig. I don't know. That name just sorry. Anyway, keep going.
So then
he went out. He did. He goes out. I just want to be clear.
McConnell goes out.
Okay, go ahead.
We all go out. We live it. We preach and we practice at this table.
Yeah.
So so then I was out on New Year's Eve, and this girl started messaging me wanting to hang out. Who knows? Maybe she stopped dating someone and she was free all of a sudden, and maybe I put up a really good picture online. I don't know what it was, but she was like asking me, please come out and get drinks with me on New Year's. But I said, no, I'm chilling with my friend, and then I'm going to go meet a girl at 2. I've already set up that she's going to be coming over. So my night's fixed. And so never did I think I'd be in a place where I could, deny her. A girl that's that great. Yeah. But that's kind of what it took, and then I ended up dating her for a while as well, right? So one-itis will just actually drive away everything that you want.
Yeah, you were saying that about how, one-itis, when, you think that it not only... is it bad for you, but also it decreases your chance of actually getting the girl.
Yeah, it does the opposite, because what guys think is they think, no, if I look at other girls, she might find out or something, or I'll lose her. I gotta just spend this time thinking about her. And that's just creepy. What girl wants that? Connor's in his apartment thinking about me, right? Well, I'm out with my friends having a good time.
One of the funny one-itis stories before I got into game, there was this one girl who I was really interested in, who I went to school with, and I was like, oh, she's so perfect, she's so good, and I was like, I just really would if only she would give me the time of day and she would talk to me, or whatever. And I was just thinking about it'd be so great if what if that finally happened? And then one day she finally messaged me on AIM, and she's like, hey, and then I was like, what do I say? So I didn't know what to say, so I just didn't say anything.
This is the moment I've been waiting for. I'm gonna run away.
So don't do that.
When was this?
I was 14 or something.
Wow.
So
That's
yeah.
awesome.
So about 3 years ago.
Yeah. Yesterday.
You've come a long way.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you have any other thing you want to say about one-itis?
No, just that I agree that it's it can be very detrimental, and you want to strive for balance in your relationships rather than being too far on one end or the other. So if you're just only thinking about one girl, and you're not focusing on your other relationships, you're not focusing on work, you're getting out of shape because you're only spending your time, you're devoting all your time to this one single person. That's very unhealthy, and that's just as unhealthy as devoting none of your time to any of your relationships, and not trying to maintain your relationship with the girls who you do want to see. So I think that it's just about balance.
There's a book called The Passion Trap. I can't believe it's a whole book. I don't really think you should get this book because it's such a simple concept. But there's this whole book called The Passion Trap. And what it's about is they have this concept where they say there's a person who's the one up in the relationship and a person who's the one down. And essentially they're saying that, there's always a power dynamic in the relationship. One person wants to be with the other person more, right? Oh, wait. Okay, well, anyway, I'll continue. Because you're supposed to, I'd like to hear your take on the, a girl starting out lukewarm and then, flipping that. Oh. Because that's part of what he was asking about. So we come back to it.
Okay.
So anyway, so it talks about this concept of the one up and the one down. And the one up is, the person who has more value, right? So it could be, in the examples in the book, it could be, one person is for whatever reason more attractive. It doesn't have to be, it could be because of personality. It could be because of, financial situation. It could be because of attractiveness, whatever, any of the number of factors that, that could, that you use to evaluate people. But one person wants to be in a relationship more than the other, and that can shift. And what they're saying is that this is sort of a normal part, and the dynamic is the one down, the person who feels they have less value, they start to do a lot of things hoping to get the attention of the one up person more. And the one up feels like, oh God, this is really ew. Like, get away from me. They feel the reverse. They want to create more space because when that one down person is like trying to get more from them and get more attention, then that one up experiences that as like neediness, and they feel it as, you're being very demanding and you're being, restricting their abilities and their freedom. And so that dynamic makes it so that the one up actually ends up trying to get away even more, right? And this is what you were talking about, right? Whereas so they're trying to get away more, and so. And so, I find, normally I think that this is, in my relationships, normally what happens is that in the beginning, the girl is, basically not interested in me at all. I mean, they're not interested in me at all. When I approach a girl, she has not looked at me and gone, oh, I hope that guy comes and talks to me. Oh, come on. And oftentimes, when I actually do go over there and talk to them, they're still like, oh, God, why is this guy over here talking to me? There have been, I would say that there's a concept called plowing. I don't know, for those of you who, you may not be familiar with this concept, but plowing is essentially when you are talking to a girl and she's not participating in the conversation. Yeah. And what happens very commonly and is that, you approach her and you're talking and she has decided not to leave, which is great. Because they will leave if they don't want to be around you, they will walk away. And so, plowing is when, you're sort of just talking to them and, you don't know if what you're saying is interesting to her, or if it's not, but, you're trying to create a moment where she decides that you are worth talking to, right? And you are worth interacting with. And, people are often impressed with my plowing abilities, and it's not because women respond so well to me from the get-go that that I don't have to. It's very common. I mean, I was in Japan last time I was in Japan a couple weeks ago, and I was chatting up this two girls on the street, and they were just stone cold in the beginning, and then after maybe talking to them for 2 or 3 minutes, they started laughing and that sort of thing, and this is a very common experience for me. So this is not so really for me, a lot of the whole concept of learning to be good with women is that you have to learn to turn that kind of thing into a relationship. I mean, that's oftentimes how things happen with me. It's like girl who wasn't interested in me at all, and then later on they're really wanting to see me, maybe more than I want to see them, and they're putting a lot of effort into the relationship, and they want to do a lot more, and they want to contribute more to my life. And to me, that's just normal. I mean, that is pretty typical. And I think that when you look at like this idea of like the passion trap concept, when you are the one up, which is what I think is pretty much what always happens in my relationships, is that you have to manage her in such a way that she doesn't feel that she needs to do all these things to control you and constrain you. You need to actively give her enough of your attention and be aware of what her needs are so she doesn't feel that she lacks value. And I think that's a really important concept for relationship management, so that you don't end up in this dynamic where you're trying to like run away from this girl. And
I think most relationships I get in now, for some reason, they think I'm the one up, even though I'm not. But the way that I run it, they're usually the one up. The girl's like could probably get a better situation if she wanted a guy with like lots of cash or.
But it's so funny that because you're narrowing down what it means to be the one up to specific things. It's just the factor of if she wants to be with you more, then you want to be with her.
Yeah. So what
But
I'm
I
saying
think
but I'm saying though is that I secretly really want to be with her. But I'm like super happy she's with me. And I'm like, holy shit, you're way, even like if we're having sex, I'm like, you're way too good for me. Like while we're having sex. But then like, but later, like she'll constantly be just like, I don't know why I like you so much.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just running it differently than I had in the past. I haven't changed as a guy.
Yeah, I think that definition of one-up is kind of incorrect. It's more like it's not really they want to be with you more than you want to be with them. It's more they're putting more effort.
Or they think that they want to be with you.
Right, exactly. It's about how they think, not about what the actual thing is. Because of course, every girl who you talk to, presumably you should be interested in meeting them, right? Yeah. And you should want to see them, and you should be let down if they don't want to meet you. Yeah. But it's about who is actually showing their interest, right?
Right. Yeah.
Kind of like in poker, right? I mean, who's actually showing their position? Is the weakest one of their
body language. Yeah,
right.
But I thought you meant even like in relationships, boyfriend girlfriend. Because usually there is like one person that's kind of like, I want to leave. Like, no, let's keep dating.
This book was talking specifically about relationships, but I think that it's just a dynamic.
It's all over.
That exists
for sure,
pretty much everywhere. Yeah. So I think that that's a really just normal part of dating is that. Is that as the guy, when you approach a girl, most of the time, unless you're, really attractive guy, most of the time, your value is totally unclear to her. Her value, at least at one level, is very... I mean, obviously you can meet her and she could be crazy, and then you're like, wow, I thought she was really hot, but actually she's crazy and her value drops. But in general, you look at her and you go, wow, that girl's really hot, and you go over and talk to her, and then you enjoy talking to her, and her value is still at least as good as it was before you met her. Whereas as a guy, generally your value is pretty unknown to her, and it's not until she's had some chance to interact with you that she can start to feel like, oh yeah, this guy actually is really good, and I should be trying to get him. And I think this is one of the things that people overlook when they think about approaching really attractive women. A lot of guys expected, well, she's a fucking bitch because I went over and talked to her and she wasn't friendly to me. And it's like, well, if she's a really attractive girl, I'm sure that, around her are lots of guys that want to be with her. And she knows them and knows lots of things about them. And she knows nothing about you except that you came over and talked to her.
So does this go into like indicators of interest?
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of times, like what you're saying is, because I wasn't sure if she liked me or not, I would leave.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see any indicators of interest.
Right. Well, why don't you explain what indicator of interest is?
Okay. So, no, you say it because I have something to add on to it. You give a good base. You're McConnell, give a good base.
Okay.
You're Batman, I'm Robin. Go on. Collectively.
It's so funny. Oh man!
Okay, so he actually is Batman.
An indicator of interest would be like if I'm talking to a girl and she starts giving me maybe like she's really laughing at my jokes, or she's like asking me questions about my life. She's giving me a lot of attention. Those are subtle indicators of interest.
Her body language. She's facing you with her full body.
She's putting her hand through her hair a lot. She's fidgety or something. You can sense.
Rubbing your crotch, maybe.
However,
like last weekend.
What?
The girl you were dancing with?
Oh God, what happened?
You don't remember?
No.
Oh my.
What?
I just we were talking about indicators of interest, and he just said like rubbing my crotch.
Oh,
she wasn't rubbing your crotch, but she was giving you a very sick grind.
We were rubbing each other. Yeah, we're rubbing our junk against each other. It was like penguins pre-mating each other. But I always say though, because I used to be a chode for a long time, is that I know you guys will accept that. Accept it in my own way. But as an indicator of interest, I think for me, an indicator of interest is when I'm inside her, that she likes me. When she's sucking my dick, I'm like, I think I got an IOI here. But I think the reason I say that is because a lot of guys, I think, are like, yeah, I think she likes me because of this or that. And like, that's not a real indicator of interest.
Yeah.
And that also goes with what you're saying. It's just like, don't shut it down because you're thinking you're not seeing one. Wait until she actually walks away, or she says she never wants to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's a great example. Yeah, that's a great explanation for what an IOI is, which is, it's something that lets you know that she's interested. But I think, as you also said, a lot of people think that interest has to come maybe early, and they think that girls maybe have to show a lot more interest than they actually do. If she is, the guys are like, oh, she, like she didn't smile at me. Oh, I think she doesn't like me, and they'll leave. And, the fact is, you don't know what's going on in her head, but believe me, she will walk away if she really wants to get away from you.
Yeah.
That is definitely true. I think especially this is doubly true for Asian girls. They don't feel the same need to be polite to strangers. Right?
Yeah.
I think in the West, that's maybe more the case. But in Asia, if you're in Korea,
you don't really interact with strangers.
Yeah,
so
And if they do for example, at a club, they know what's happening, and they know that they don't have to be polite to you. That you're a guy who's trying to get them drunk and drag them home. Sorry, that's not what we're trying to do, but that's what Korean guys are trying to do. So that's their mental framework, and. So because of that mental framework, if they're not interested at all, they'll just, they're gone. They're done with you immediately, and that's totally cool. So as he was saying, if the girl's just there and she's, if she's not leaving, then she's essentially saying, I don't mind that you're here saying things to me, saying words, making faces at me, whatever it is, that however it is that she's experiencing you.
I think that one of the big issues with indicator of interest is that I think a lot of guys misunderstand what that is supposed to be used for. Like a lot of guys think that if it's like, oh, well, if she gives me indicator of interest, then I'll just stay and talk to her more. If she doesn't, then she doesn't like me, so I'll leave. And I think that that's like a very widely held belief among people who are trying to get better with women. And if you look at like old Mystery Method stuff, one of the things that I think he was, Mystery, you're welcome to come and hang out and correct me if I'm wrong. If you are listening to this
on the next podcast,
but wherever you may be right now. But I think that one of the things that Mystery kind of promoted is that you use indicator of interest to gauge how far into the interaction you are.
Yeah.
Because girls will start showing them if you're further along.
Right.
And if you're not that far along, and you it just gives you a better idea of where you are in the game.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great point. So one example would be, if you have a girl's full attention, and when you stop talking, for example, she's just standing there like looking at you, like clearly waiting for you to continue talking. That could be a great indicator that, hey, you know what? Maybe you should bounce her. Move her in the club to another area of the club, or maybe try and get her to leave the club to go, to another bar, or to go get food, or to just step outside and head to the convenience store, which is really common to do in Korea and in Taiwan. That sort of thing. It's an indication that when you use indicators of interest to say, okay, maybe I can take this a step further from where I am now, right? So absolutely, yeah, straight up, that's good. Going back to the One-itis, I wanted to share about something very, very Japan. For those of you who are interested in Japan or interested in weird Asia stuff, there's a group called AKB48, and you can see, I'll put the video for heavy rotation on the page below. And basically, it's a girl band, and it has 48 members or so. Anyway, it has a lot of members, and each of them, each of them has a single that they put out, and guys can sort of vote on which girl is their favorite by buying her single. Now, all of these girls are not allowed to officially have boyfriends, and they often have these things where they meet where they can meet their fans. They'll go to some kind of event, and then the guys can come up on stage and shake her hand and give her flowers or something. And the whole thinking that these guys have is, I'll go there and I'll be able to meet her, and she'll, realize that I'm the one for her. Or and guys will buy to because they really like their girl, they really want her to win. They'll buy 10, 20, 30 of her singles. Albums to vote for her 20 or 30 times, and they'll show up at these things like, look how much I like you, isn't this awesome, you want to be with me.
So wet.
Yeah.
I want Vision to do this.
Oh yeah,
that would be really funny.
Yeah, that would be funny.
They have clips of this on Vice.
Oh, do they?
You can see them. Yeah, we can look for.
Oh, okay. We'll put the link there.
Yeah.
And this is an example of how One-itis really can work against your own best interests, because it is definitely not in your interest to buy 20 or 30 CDs for some girl who doesn't have a boyfriend, quote unquote. But
This also fits into those proposal fail videos where the guys buy 400 iPhones and they draw a heart with them. And...
Oh yeah. Have you seen this?
No. Please.
Yeah, there's like I can't remember where this was. I think it was in mainland China, where this guy, obviously he's very rich, and he wanted to propose to some girl who he probably didn't know that well. And so he bought hundreds of iPhones, and he like drew some elaborate shape on the ground as like a heart, and
with the iPhones. He used
used the iPhones. Yeah, I think he like constructed some sort of like, it's been a while since I've seen it, but he constructed something out of the iPhones, and then he had like all of these luxury cars driving by and playing music, and then he proposed to her, and then she rejects him.
Yeah,
but
she ran away.
Yeah,
she was like, "Why are you doing this?"
Yeah.
And she like ran away.
Yeah.
He was just there on one knee with this huge crowd around him.
All those iPhones.
Yeah.
At least he never has to buy a new phone.
I was like, why can't I get one of those iPhones?
That's why he bought them all.
Just want one. I wonder, like, where do guys get this? Where are we getting this from that this will work? And it's totally like movies and popular
Disney,
media.
Definitely.
You have this guy who's kind of nervous, like the British dude.
Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh gosh, I just touched you there. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. And for some reason, she's like, "Woo, I love him." But they're never gonna make a movie of a reality of some dude going out, dating different girls, sleeping around, and then he's like, "Yeah, sure, let's hang out more." No girl wants to watch that movie. They don't want that.
There's a really good interview with Neil Strauss, who wrote The Game, for those of you who don't know, and there was like some criticism by some feminist group, and they were like, why don't you try being nice to a girl and getting her flowers and and doing, just be yourself and don't teach them these like tricks. And Neil said, well, if that worked, I wouldn't have had to write this book.
Yeah, I tried that already.
Yeah.
I know I did. Yeah, that didn't really work out well. I always joke, my mom, she told me that all I have to do is get a good job and a good woman will come and find me. What she didn't tell me is that the bad women would find me too. They found me a whole lot faster. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to, I guess maybe that's, how far?
We're at an hour.
Right now?
So I think...
Okay. Does anybody else have anything else that they want to throw in, or they want to add, or they want to comment about, as far as any of the things that we went over?
No, I hope it's super helpful, and I hope if they just give us feedback. Just give us feedback.
Yeah, that's true. We want to know. Do you guys like to hear more wacky Asia stories, or you don't give a fuck about that? You want to hear more about whether Asian girls are shaved or not? I don't know.
want to hear about what I ate for breakfast. There's lots of things we can discuss. The history of the Persian Empire. Just tell us in the comments what you want to hear about.
Tell us what you want to hear. We want to make a show that's as fun and entertaining and as informative as possible. And I know some of you are in Asia, some of you are not in Asia, and maybe you are curious about what it is to be out here, and maybe that's what you want to hear about. Some of you aren't planning on coming here, but you date Asian girls, and maybe you want to hear about some of the things that you could do better in dealing with her Asian ways. So whatever it is, hit us up and let us know.